Why, hello, hello. It is so good to see you, dear friend. Welcome back. You must have received my letter in the post. Oh, splendid. Then you know why I've asked you to come. I know you're working diligently on the transcript of our previous meeting, but what I've arranged this evening will be even more grand than that. Professor Severus Snape, a highly respected wizard and my former colleague from Hogwarts, is waiting for us at the table. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe I mentioned him last time. He too has had enough of Harry's schemes and the school's academic nosedive. He's agreed to have his account transmitted into writing and published as well. Yes, exciting indeed. He's just through the door on your right. I'm going to prepare us some dinner. I will join the pair of you shortly. But please, there is no need to wait for me to start.
There you are. You're late. You're as punctual as the Weasleys. Forgive me, I'm just having a bit of fun before we start. But in all seriousness, I did begin to wonder if Potter intercepted the letter, or you perhaps met a worse fate at his diabolical hands. My colleague was not lying. I am here to grudgingly give my story. Grudgingly, because I hoped it might not have come to this. However, the state of the school is declining. Rapidly. My colleague's story is true. Potter did attempt to steal the Sorcerer's Stone in his first year and send me to Azkaban in the process. I had done absolutely nothing to that boy to deserve such intense, unwarranted loathing towards me. You know now that it was Professor Quirrell, not me. In fact, I was actively engaged in trying to stop Quirrell. Of course, Harry does not listen to reason, or anybody but himself for that matter. I did sign the NDA provided to me by Albus, so I don't know the Ministry's ramifications, although I do think that once they catch wind of this, it won't matter. By the way, Quirrell is indeed used on the dungeon labour force now by Mr. Filch. The student's rumour is correct. He's still wearing his disgusting poopy-caked clothing from that night, actually. He's religiously scrubbing away at the chamber walls with a whip at his back, told to scrub until they are white, even though the stone the castle was constructed out of was never white. I wouldn't wish his circumstances on anybody, not even Voldemort. Mr. Filch is a nasty excuse for a man. You see, I've attended Hogwarts for quite some time as the professor of the potions class, as well as being a student in my youth. I've never seen the conditions of education get so bad in all my days. Since you already know of Potter's first year, I, still currently employed at the school, can explain the situation of the present moment to you. The boy who lived is in his third year now. I swear if any other student had did what he has done, they'd long be expelled by now. But since Harry is a celebrity in the wizarding world, we sweep all his sins conveniently under the cupboard. A quick recap, shall we? In Harry's second year, he had given Ginny Weasley, the sister of his quote-unquote friend, Ron Weasley, Tom Riddle's diary. He wanted to summon Tom Riddle to extract his possession of esoteric wizarding knowledge, Horcruxes included. No, Harry does not like Tom Riddle. The information possessed by Tom was a pawn to be used in Harry's own power struggle. I don't even think Harry intends to be evil. He inhabits some kind of odd moral space of his own invention. But far too often, innocents are caught up in Potter's tornado as unwilling participants in his disaster of a life. Ginny almost died. So did Harry himself. But he did kill the serpent with his bare hands, choking it violently, and after trying to stab Tom's ghost directly, he figured out he needed to stab the diary. So I will admit at least he slightly kept a handle on it that time. He would choose to not be so graceful in his third year. Even the Express was not free from Harry. He summoned Dementors to the train, freezing it in place. Just for his own amusement, he directed them personally to those he didn't like. Crabbe, Goyle, and Draco were the first victims. Understand that Potter wasn't an associate of Draco's anymore. He was extremely offended after Draco pointed out that Harry, stealing his haircut and dyeing his hair blonde, was, I quote, extremely weird Potter. So when Draco's soul was leaving his body, Harry found it most prudent to say to him, "Heh, is it true you fainted? Heh," mocking Draco for the time Harry fainted under a Dementor's soul-sucking assault. This is just one example of the havoc he has wrought upon the castle thus far. I shall fast forward to his most recent doings. See, Harry was still pen pals with Barty Crouch Jr. He even invited him to a few of his Quidditch matches. Where Barty Crouch Jr. took great delight in seeing Harry's underhanded tactics, such as enchanting the bludgers to ram into his enemies, nothing made his tongue flap around his face more than seeing the students crash their brooms into the turf underneath the goalposts. You see, it allowed Harry to win on two fronts, one the Quidditch match, and two after the game he would valiantly run to the downed opponent to offer aid. Making a display as a hero, he used the spell Gilderoy used on him once. Brachium Emendo. He cast the spell onto the Slytherin player, but Harry accidentally cast it on the student's entire body, making their whole skeleton flabby. The students spent half of the year in the infirmary regrowing their skeletal structure after that. Anyways, I'm sidetracked. A strange thing it was to see a grown man in a trench coat, not a member of the staff, hanging out with a third-year student. Barty Crouch Jr. was so enamored by Harry he actually swapped allegiances from the Dark Lord to Harry himself, in hopes he would secure future employment in the regime. This young blood with the proper social engineering would be stronger than Voldemort, he thought. Him and Harry found themselves playing a match of darts in the Gryffindor common room, sharing laughs, trashing random Hogwarts students. Yeah, Finnegan is a right foul git, his arse is rotten. Harry chuckled. But now that he found a new leader, Barty had to make Harry aware of something. Yeah, a real piss-guppy, that one. Hey, listen, Harry, I forgot to mention that rat Ron has. It's bewitched. I cast the spell on it myself, you see. It isn't a rat. It's a man named Peter. He'll sabotage your quest for greatness. We must get that rat, Harry. He knew exactly how to grind Harry's gears into action. Upon hearing this information, Harry chose haste. Say no more. We'll get Scabbers now. They both left to go seek Harry's other two friends, Hermione Granger and Ronald Weasley. They arranged a group meeting on the outskirts of the castle grounds. Stood in a circle on that cool autumn afternoon, Potter asked Ron to hand over the rat. What? Why? You've never showed any interest in Scabbers till now, and besides, I was about to feed him a lollipop I've been saving in my pocket. Wait, what's that? Defiance. That was not going to stand, especially not while Harry's emboldening friend was in his presence. Ron, give me Scabbers. Do you remember what happened on the chessboard, or do I need to remind you? He protested at Ron. Ron's mind flashed back to that moment. His face turned sour, the pain remembered all too well. So he relented and traded the rat to Harry's grasp. All right now, Harry, you know what to do, Barty said, licking his lips in anticipation. Only problem was, Harry couldn't recall what he was referring to, so he cast the first spell that came to his mind. Brachium Emendo. The rat let out a subtle squeal as its entire body deflated in his palm. The excitement left Crouch's face and quickly turned to disappointment. Come on, really, Harry? Hermione moaned. Shut it! You couldn't have done any better, Miss Muggle. He recoiled. No, Harry. Use the spell I taught you. The killing, stun spell. That one, yeah, Crouch instructed. It's not going to work. Hermione had a smug smile. Even so, Harry readjusted his posture. Avada Kedavra. The green light flashed. However, it missed. It shot like lightning across the landscape, eventually striking Hagrid's pet, Buckbeak. Blimey, in Merlin's name, where did that come from? Buckbeak, no, you poor girl. Hagrid was distraught. He used the animal for outdoor classes, which means its death did not go unnoticed. We could have just explained it away as old age, but the staff, as usual, decided to blame Hagrid instead for fun. It was like a game. What could we come up with next? We said Hagrid tripped and fell on it while it slept. Aha, gets me every time. But because of Harry's inaccuracy, it gave Pettigrew enough time to transform. He leapt away from them. He darted towards the forest, letting out copious amounts of noxious gas to obscure his escape. Whatever he ate as a rat to cause that kind of bowel release worked, because he very quickly vanished into the tree line. Damn it! That's your fault, Ron, remember that. If you didn't feed him so much candy, that wouldn't have happened, accused Harry. One of his biggest weaknesses was admitting any type of mistake or incompetence, which was already demonstrated in his first year. Ron looked up, surprised. He was already licking the lollipop he saved. What? Asked Ron, confused. Potter already reoriented his attention. That's it. We'll have to pursue him, but we need backup. I got it. Neville. That's right. Neville. See, Neville did have an untimely death in his first year. I was the one who investigated it after all. Dumbledore was fixated on covering it up because his finances couldn't support a school shutdown. I proposed a compromise. We used necromancy to revive him. A little worse for wear, but he was back at least. Longbottom happened to be on a walk nearby, deep in thought. Harry's crucio put an abrupt end to his self-reflection. He dragged Neville's body towards him. He released him and proclaimed with earnest, "Neville, I know we're not on the best of terms, but I need to stop Snape. Ooh shit, listen. Neville, a man named Peter Pettigrew, is in those woods, and we need an extra body. You're coming with us." His free will having been kindly revoked, he followed nervously behind. They went out into that dark forest. They spotted in the distance what looked like a rave. Lights flashing, the bass pounding, they could hardly make out what looked like Molly Weasley, Ronald's mother, dancing atop a table. Not the real Molly Weasley, that was Dumbledore indulging in his addiction, once again under the influence of the polyjuice potion that he stole from me the night previous. He had been planning that party for weeks. "Mum, bloody hell, that's foul. I never knew." Ron was shocked. "Silly boy, that isn't your mummy. That's your headmaster, ha-ha," grinned Crouch. They went wide and stayed clear of the celebration. Last thing they all wanted was another drunken monologue about the Goblet of Fire. Afternoon turned into evening. Still no sign of the stinky escapee. They were thinking of heading back until the bushes nearby rustled. Flash! Out popped Peter, on the run once more. Neville panicked. He gobbled down some gillyweed in desperation. In only moments he was flopping on the ground as a fish-human hybrid. So much for backup, I suppose. A chase ensued, dodging trees and rocks. They pursued the rat boy. "Harry, please not this again." Hermione knew this was another mess waiting to happen. An exasperated, ignorant fool was all she got in response while he sprinted after Peter. In the distance, an argument could be heard. Cornish pixie, wait. It was Seamus. Everyone knew that was his insult of choice. Him and Malfoy's minions were dicking around in the woods. It seems everyone chose this night for time outdoors. The cracking of sticks and twigs notified Draco and friends of their presence. They also joined the chase. Now here we have it. An entire band of unsupervised children and one sociopathic adult, Barty Crouch Jr. raging through the forbidden forest after a farting rat man. All stirred on because of Harry's egomaniacal tendencies. Pettigrew, being a conniving devil, steered himself towards the rave. "Where are you going, Potter? Looking for more house points, are you?" Draco yelled a dozen or so yards behind them. The house point system is completely broken by now. It was basically worthless. McGonagall more or less murdered it whenever she decided to give all the houses a score of negative 3,000 plus. "Back off, Malfoy." Harry was still on the run. They entered into the middle of the rave. Oh no, the exact situation they wished to avoid. Quote-unquote, Molly Weasley turned to see this interruption. She stepped off the table and jogged over, her body twitching, bulging, and contracting. The polyjuice potion wore off, and out came Dumbledore, just as Barty Crouch predicted. Dumbledore was furious. His party has been interrupted. He grabbed a potion of God knows what, and chugged it quickly. He wiped his mouth and began to speak. "Which one of you put your name in the Goblet of Fire?" But Mr. Pettigrew knocked over a barrel, alerting everyone to his presence. Harry made a quick dash towards him, the EDM blaring, magic of all kinds surrounding them. Everyone followed suit, ignoring Dumbledore. "Not this time, Potter. Eat slugs." Malfoy got him. Harry came down with the sickness. Ah, wah, ah, ah. Apologies. Good song that. A line was drawn in the sand. Everyone picked their sides, either Draco's or Harry's. It was most tempting for Ron and Hermione to become turncoats after all of the abuses they've suffered. But fear kept them in line, just like Crouch promised it would. The spell wore off, and Harry, being revitalized, turned to Ron. "Spit out your lollipop, Ron. Weakness in the face of the enemy. Pitiful." Ron did as he was asked. Pettigrew was now stuck in a circle, surrounded on all sides. Potter's bloodthirst was felt unquenchable to him. He needed to end him now. Barty Crouch Jr.'s lips were going wild. He adored this chaos he helped create. Nobody knows who cast the first spell, but soon they were blasting everywhere like fireworks, they fighting on the disco floor Dumbledore had built a month ago in preparation for his rave.
Oh my, I hate to interrupt. Dinner is finished, dear chaps. Here you both go. Sounds like I came in at the juicy part. Please continue. This will be good.
Thank you, friend. Wow, the duck is cooked to perfection. How did you season it?
A bit of thyme and rosemary always does the trick, Severus. I'll share the recipe with you if you'd like.
Please do. What's that? My apologies. Now where was I? In the midst of this calamity, Harry struck Pettigrew with the killing curse, then cast it 5 more times on his body, just to be sure. "Whoa, nice one, Harry!" Ron joyously praised him. Seamus was only out here for fun, so when he witnessed this, he sounded off. "Aye, what in the absolute fuck is going on?" in his Scottish accent. "Leave if you're so scared. I have Crabbe and Goyle anyways," Malfoy proclaimed to him. So he did. Smartest one in the group, I'd say. Damn, I didn't think he'd actually leave. Seems he called Malfoy's bluff. Potter, riding high on his recent kill, turned towards the trio. He gave a nod towards Crouch, signalling it was time for the signature move. "Crucio!" they yelled in unison. Dumbledore had already deserted the scene with his box of potions, so there would be no repercussions. Besides, he killed a henchman of Voldemort's who cared. Draco and Goyle were now writhing in pain in the mud. Crabbe was the lucky one, and fled once he saw this. "Oh, Jesus, Harry, why do you keep doing this?" Hermione asked, placing her face into her palm. Pointless question. Harry was focused. "I never liked your hair anyways, Draco. It's stupid, and I got tired of putting gel in it." "Pussy!" Harry was dialing in his trash talk to 11. After 5 minutes of this, they released them and let them run. With the party over and Peter murdered, they needed to hide the body. Harry's most trusted goon, Ron, was tasked with the burial. "Harry, he's stinky and putrid. Can't we just leave him?" Ron was clearly unmotivated, but it isn't wise to say no to the boy who lived. Harry retaliated. "Ron, I'll bury you with him if you don't get rid of him this instant." He dug a shallow grave he attempted to toss in the deceased fart maniac, but he started convulsing, his eyelids opening and closing. Harry, he's alive." Ron was terrified, backing away from the corpse. He turned around to see his friend. No worries, Ron. Just some practice." He was using Crucio on the corpse. "You're a natural, Harry. We'll make a king of you yet." Barty Crouch was leaking spit, his shirt soaked from all the tongue-flinging he had been doing. Eventually Potter stopped, and they rolled the bulbous cadaver into the hole. They trudged back to the castle, past Hagrid, whom they didn't even acknowledge except for some spit onto the ground when Hagrid said, "Hiya, Harry." Barty Crouch Jr. informed his friends he had to leave for a while, to attend to business, but he would come back next year for the Triwizard Tournament. He insisted Harry get better control over his friends. He provided him with information on charms he might possibly use. Harry was oh so excited. He thanked him and sent him on his way. On the bright side, next year Dumbledore wouldn't look so stupid whenever he screamed about the goblet. It was at this point me, Snape, was writing some poetry in my office. Dumbledore crashed through the door. "Snape, the Goblet of Fire! My rave has been ruined. I need you to notify McGonagall to deduct house points from Gryffindor." Realizing it was pointless to deduct house points, I asked him, "Albus, you know that doesn't work anymore, right? I'm well aware we're keeping Harry as a pig for slaughter, but when does this behavior end? We'll be lucky if he graduates at this rate." "I'll excuse him for now. He got rid of Pettigrew. He unknowingly did us a favor, Severus. I need you to notify Hagrid and Mr. Filch to clean the mess in the woods, including the shitty latrines that were dug for the celebration. They're practically overflowing by now." Dumbledore attempted to justify this to me. "As you wish, Headmaster." "Good," said Dumbledore. "I'm going to enjoy the rest of these potions in my quarters. Farewell until tomorrow, Severus." He left, and I marched through the halls until I found Mr. Filch and Hagrid already engaged in conversation. "My Buckbeak, gone, just like that." He was very sombre over the loss of his friend. He got sympathy from Mr. Filch. His cat was thrown out of a castle tower by Harry's trio the previous year as a prank. "Filch, Hagrid, I apologize to interrupt. It is urgent. Dumbledore needs you both to go into the Forbidden Forest and tidy up the remains of his rave. No later than sundown tomorrow." Hagrid couldn't believe it. He had enough on his plate. "Are you kidding me? There's already talk of blaming Buckbeak's death on me, and the same people want to tell me to go cleaning?" "Enough, Hagrid!" I halted him. I wasn't in the mood to argue. I just had to relay the message. You will clean it. That means the shitting hole as well. Mr. Filch got excited about that last part. A filthy smirk appeared on his face. "You mean we get to put our hands down in that filthy excrement pit? This isn't a job, my dear Hagrid. This is a blessing." Much to Hagrid's horror, he left with his head down, and Mr. Filch with his head high. I could hear Filch further down the corridor as I walked away. "I got just the man for the job. He's scrubbing the walls now, but he is no stranger to poop, let me tell you." Their voices faded into the corridor. As for the epilogue of everyone else involved, Draco spent the rest of the year in therapy with his friends. Ron and Hermione were further desensitized by Harry into the perfect brigade. As for Dumbledore, well, he went on such a bender he forgot to order food to prepare, so the castle starved for 2 days. The only food we had was from Professor Flitwick's potato incantation, which only made 1 potato at a time and took 20 minutes to complete each cycle. I do believe that was the biggest example just this past year of Potter's reign of terror, but of course there is always more. But if I did that, I'd have us here all night. The Ministry will be hard-headed about such things, whether or not you find success. I promise I will be fine. Either Potter is expelled, or I still have my job regardless. I'm going to head out. It's a long trip back to Hogwarts, so I better start now. Good luck to you both in stopping Mr. Potter. I'm always available should you need me. I suppose we'll see what he does this upcoming year. Farewell.